In the studio, we have two gentlemen who have booked their homes with Unitech. Jeevan Kanpal has a flat booked in Unitech Uni Homes, and Sanjeev Tyagi has bought a flat in Unitech Golf and Country Club. Their projects are on an average delayed by 3 to 4 years. Very interesting. Both represent different segments. One is a luxury project, other is a budget housing project. We will speak to Jeevan and Sanjeev both on all that they have encountered because of their projects not being delivered on time by Unitech. And we'll also get a legal perspective from our regular on the show, Vinay Singh, founder and owner of Vinay Singh & Associates and property expert. All right, Vinay, thank you so much for joining us. Jeevan and Sanjeev, pleasure to have you in the studio. Jeevan, let me begin with you. Every time Unitech missed a deadline, have they been clear on what are they going to do next? Are they coming up with a new construction timeline? Have they been transparent in their communication with you?
No, they have never been transparent in their communication. In fact, this project was launched in May 2009 with, say, Unitech Uni Homes Phase 1. So it's a budget housing project. And in the builder-buyer agreement, they have given a timeline of 24 months for the possession to be given. That got ended in May 2011. And since May 2011, we have been chasing them every day, every month that, okay, please inform us what are your timelines, what are your plans. But every time they come up with new timelines, which is, at every day it increases by 1 quarter. So every quarter it just gets postponed to another quarter, right. And it has been delayed by more than 36 months now. We have filed several RTIs with Noida Authority to find out whether they have taken any completion certificate, any NOC for fire, power, drainage. They have not taken anything. Okay. And I don't know. See, because this land was given to them in 2008 with a clause that the possession of this residential complex is to be given to buyers maximum for a period of 5 years. So in 2013, they have to give the possession, otherwise they will be levied penalty in a laddered manner. Right. But they have not been penalized as yet. Right.
Sanjeev, your project delayed by 4 years. Have they, given any kind of assurances on maybe they're planning to shore up their resources, planning to sell some assets? Any words of assurances on how they plan to expedite your project?
So, Vasudha, in my case, the story, the messages or the communication that we are getting from Unitech is something similar what our colleague is getting from them. So there are false promises, commitments which are never met, which are getting delayed quarter over quarter, year over year. The fact is, I'll also like to give a brief background of this project and how this is going to affect overall the confidence of the buyer. Right. So in this particular project called as Unitech UGCC, which is a short form of Unitech Golf and Country Club, was been launched in 2007 when Unitech acquired or took over around 347 acres of land at the rate of around 1548 crores, 1548 crores from Noida Authority. So I am representing one cluster of that project. It's a golf community which was been sold, was been positioned for the high net individuals, for the NRIs primarily. Okay. Out of 1500 crore, the cluster which I am representing is called Amber, wherein we have around 440 apartments. 95 or 98% of them are being sold. The minimum ticket size in 2007 for this apartment was 1.5 crores. So you multiply 1.5 crores by 440, we are talking of more than 650 crores, which has already been taken by Unitech. We have paid 95% of the money. Then they launched a new project or a second cluster called Burgundy, which was even expensive, more richer in specification, bigger in size, which a ticket size of around 4 crores. There also they have collected around 70 to 80% of the money, which is in a tune of some, so total project's value was around 1000 crore. There is a third cluster called Plots, wherein they have collected around 250 crores. So in total, only from these three clusters, they have collected more than 1,000 to 1,500 crores from the buyers, from us. Right. There is RTI that we have done, for which I'll share a copy with you. They are yet to pay till March 2014 1,076 crore to Noida Authority.
As EDC?
As this 1,500 crore which were for which they bought this land, right. Out of which 1,000 crore they are yet to pay. So they roughly they have paid around 500 crore and in 1,000 crore there is interest component also. So the point out, and also there was an article which came in the end of March, for which again I have a copy. LIC has given a notice to them, and for a reason they are supposed to pay 148 crores.
So you're saying essentially they have a lot of liabilities on them. They have collected your money, but not going ahead with the construction.
What I'm trying to say, it's basically a scam out here. So they have collected like 1,500 crores. They have not paid to the relevant authorities. And they have siphoned off this money to maybe for the telecom business or some other project.
Right.
So this scam has to be seen as a scam. Not only the grievances of the users, this has to be seen as a scam primarily.
Okay. Vinay, let me bring you in on this. This is not just now merely about a developer delivering the project on time. What these buyers claim that the money that they've paid 95%. Most of it is not being channeled into constructing the project. We know that Unitech has about 53 projects delayed overall, pan-India, and in the last 2 years, despite these delays, they've launched 10 more projects. How can something like this be allowed, and what kind of redressal do these buyers have?
Well, Vasudha, this is the biggest problem. The two main causes of delays, the first one being that we have in the last few years seen what is called pre-launch. So, which essentially means that the developer is launching a project with no formal permissions in place. In fact, just a few months back, one of the biggest names in this country as a brand launched a project in Panvel, and they were advertising it as a pre-launch, which I simply failed to understand what it means. So, if you see you are getting it at a stage where no plans are sanctioned, they will tell you it will take 2-3 years for the project to come up, but there's bound to be a delay, a time lag of 1 to 2 years just in getting the permissions. So everybody who books into a project is now today mentally prepared that there is going to be at least a 1 to 2 year delay. That is the state of affairs. The second reason for the delay is, as was being said now, that your money that you have collected for the project is rarely utilized for the project. The money that is collected here is utilized to purchase land or fund some other business or fund some other projects. So this is again a very critical part where you must ensure that the money is going to be utilized for this very project. There is a provision to that extent in the real estate regulatory bill, but it's not yet become law.
I'd like to understand something from you. Recently we did a story on how the NDA government, the BJP government is trying to tweak the real estate regulator bill. We have exclusive policy inputs that they're going to do away with this provision of having an escrow account, and they will just keep a provision for having a separate account. So this change in wording, how significant would that be for the funding of a project?
I think the earlier provision also said that they would have to deposit the monies in a nationalized bank, 70% of it, and that would have to be used for this project. I don't see why 70, it could be even more, it should be the entire amount. But it remains to be seen now what finally, how they tweak it. My only hope is that they should not create a loophole whereby the developer manages to get the money out and put it somewhere else, because that would defeat the very purpose of the legislation. So these two are the principal causes of the delays. Now, first of all, we as buyers also must not enter into a project unless they have permissions. But it's the simple rat race and the greed of it all that we also say, all right, if I don't book now, it's going to get full. So, you know, you enter into it at that particular stage. Okay. I feel there should be a law against this. You should criminalize it. If somebody, a builder accepts even 1 rupee when he doesn't have permissions, you send him straight off to jail. That will ensure that this pre-launch business comes to an end very quickly.
Right. Speaking of permissions, I've heard from other buyer forums representing from Unitech projects that there are many projects of Unitech where residents are living without an OC. Now, one issue that your association has raised that even if they deliver the project, you know, they have so many liabilities and loans and encumbrances on them that it'll be hard for them to, you know, to get an OC from the authorities, and you know, eventually, you know, you don't get a clear title and you're still living in that property. So that's a future, you know, cause of trouble for other buyers also who've invested in Unitech. What do you have to say?
So I agree to the fact, and just now as I said, even if they have an intent, okay, and God grace somewhere they get the money, some 100 crores or 200 crores for making my Amber apartment, the fact is we are not sure that we'll be able to live in that apartment, because all the money which they have collected from us, that is already been channelized to some other business. So they have to pay today more than 1200 crores only for this one particular project. And I am pretty sure for other projects they have to pay equal amount of money. Right. What been said by Mr. Vinay Singh there need to be some regulation. We need to make sure the money which I have paid for this particular project don't go out of that project, don't go to any other place except for that project. So that is required.
I would just point out one curious case here. In fact, this was a recent case wherein the customers of Unitech residences in Gurgaon, they got the possession, but that possession is without getting the completion certificate. And they took it. See, they have to take it. They are paying rent, they are paying EMIs, they have lost all the tax exemptions because the possession was not given to them within 3 years. What they do, Unitech is getting them, they are giving a form that you are taking a risk, you are taking the possession without the completion certificate, so there is no liability on our side in future.
But the law says it's the developer's mandate to get all approvals in place before he gets people to live in.
Right.
Jeevan, you're also talking about how the builder-buy agreement of your particular project, even your project, is skewed in favor of the developer. Can you run us through these clauses?
It is entirely skewed in favor of builder, and in fact, this was one of the key features in our protest at Chanakyapuri on 12th of September. When the government was, they are meeting for this real estate program wherein they are trying to build in some more features to the real estate bill. And in this particular case, the penalty which they are giving to the buyer on any delay from their side is 5 rupees per square feet. Okay. And in case of any delay from the customer side, we have to pay 18% per annum, which is calculated quarterly on compounded basis. Now, I have a flat which is like 990 square feet, around 1000 square feet. 5 rupee per square feet doesn't even account for half a percentage.
Right.
Now, they are giving half a percentage point, and that too they are saying we will adjust at the time of final repayment of the 5%.
Yeah.
And we are not sure because they may say, okay, we have increased the super area and your 5% got adjusted towards that.
Right. Let me bring a legal perspective from Vinay. Vinay, once a buyer goes out to buy a property, he has to sign on the dotted line. He is not well versed with the legal terms to actually read the fine print of a builder-buyer agreement. How does he get out of such a skewed agreement, as he just pointed out?
See, Vasudha, we have always suggested to buyers that you please negotiate with the builder on the clauses in the agreement. But the reality is that no builder will allow you to negotiate. It's a take it or leave it thing, and if you say I want to show the agreement to my lawyer or somebody, he'll say sit in that corner and study it for 10 minutes, otherwise please walk out of the door. So the reality being this, the only way you can counteract this is that you have a legislation. Okay, you have to give him a copy and you have to let him consult a lawyer. And if you are going to ask for 18 or 24%, then so must you pay that person 18 to 24% from your end. If you have the right to terminate the contract when your flat buyer doesn't pay, so must he have the right to terminate the contract if you don't deliver on time. The footing should be equal, and unfortunately this is not the case anywhere in the country because the builder always has an upper hand. So I feel it's only legislation which can make this mandatory and protect the buyer. Leaving it to the parties is never going to work because the builder is always in a dominant position.
All right, we need more equitable buyer-seller agreements, and that has to come in from the real estate regulator that the government is planning to set up. We hope the government is listening to this discussion. Jeevan and Sanjeev, thank you so much for joining us today. More courage to you, and I hope your cause of getting the right to own your own home finally comes to conclusion. More courage to you. Vinay, thank you so much for your expert inputs as always.